Candace Owens was on Tucker Carlson last night to respond to the latest bombshells thrown at her from none other than her co-worker Ben Shapiro. Is there a civil war erupting inside the Daily Wire? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, here to help you think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, I do want to prepare you all for this Friday. At the end of this week, I'm sharing some really exciting news about something I've been working on for some time now. And if you're on my email list, you'll read about the announcement even sooner. I promise you, if you're a top fan of this channel, you're going to absolutely love it. You're not going to want to miss this. Tucker Carlson invited Candace Owens on the show last night to respond to a viral and visceral video of Ben Shapiro saying this.
Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think it's I can't close that. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
Maybe there's a point in the video where he explains what exactly you did wrong and how you were wrong. I haven't seen it. But to call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, we disagree, or
yeah.
I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. Yes. I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's particularly remarkable.
Vaccine. Really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I was anti the vaccine. We were all idiots for not getting the vaccine. So that's totally fine. I am totally open to people having a difference in opinion.
Right.
I would hope that amongst colleagues that it would always be civil disagreement, and I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben.
It's just it's a little weird. So he was on the left on those three biggest issues of our time, is what you're saying?
Wow. All right. So Tucker has a penchant for being able to effectively frame things in terms of their big picture, their context. And what you just heard him say there is, so when it comes to the three biggest issues of our time, COVID, Big Pharma, and Ukraine, Ben has consistently positioned himself on the left with regard to all those issues, which is true. That is the context that I think is very important for understanding precisely why Tucker and Candace are chatting here. There is something fundamentally problematic about Ben Shapiro's so-called conservatism that these two are calling out. Hey, gang, you got to click on that link below and try out the amazing old country soap made on a farm in South Dakota using traditional techniques. They use only locally sourced special ingredients without the harsh chemicals that can dry out your hair and your skin. Every bar includes pure and unfiltered bentonite clay that works wonders. It helps to soothe and relieve dry and sensitive skin. It's known for its healing properties that help with psoriasis and eczema. It also pulls dirt and oil from pores, helping to clear up acne. I mean, it's amazing stuff. It works great for your hair. You could use it to shave. It's safe for your pets. And, of course, to top it all off, it's made right here in the USA. Use promo code Turley for an exclusive 20% discount off your order, and every order will include an extra gift. Just pay the shipping. It's more than worth it. So go ahead, reward yourself with this amazing Patriot product. You will not be disappointed. Click on that link below right now.
So if we could take 3 steps back and give us the context for this debate, how are you on different sides of it? I haven't heard you endorsing Hamas, like you're not. No.
Well, I have not endorsed Hamas in any way, and yet people have interpreted things that I say, or actually rather things that I don't say. It's becoming very much reminiscent to me, and why I have used my platform to say this, of Black Lives Matter, where if you don't say anything, they say your silence is violence. If you say something and it's even-handed and it's nuanced, which is to say, during the times of Black Lives Matter, you might say, I don't support police brutality. Who does? I don't support racism. Who does? But also, I think that police are a crucial part of every city. We need to have policing in cities. So these calls to defund the police are immoral and wrong and are going to lead to more Black deaths. People didn't want that nuance. When following George Floyd, there was no nuance. You had to explicitly say defund the police. You had to post a Black square. If you didn't post a Black square on Instagram, by the way, specifically on the platform of Instagram, and you maybe were busy that day, maybe you were in another country, maybe you just didn't log on to Instagram, you were accused of being a racist. I'm seeing a lot of that behavior right now when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious. Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response. First off, as a mother, that's not going to be my response as somebody who is about to give birth. When I see these images of children involved on both sides of the conflict, I've pointed to the people that are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme.
All right, so that's a very interesting point that Candace is bringing up here, drawing comparisons with the BLM frenzy the summer of 2020. Now, back then, when the riots first broke out, and you heard phrases like silence is compliance and all that obvious nonsense, I introduced my viewers to a concept known as radical perspectivalism, which is a fancy schmancy way of referring to a point of view that assumes that one's perspective represents reality in its absolute sense. So radical perspectivalism conflates one's own point of view with a totalizing picture of reality. And so if anyone diverges from your point of view, well, they're diverging from reality itself. And in the hands of the woke, that divergence deserves to be canceled. What Candace is saying here is that seemingly without realizing it, Ben, in adopting and embracing a comparable radical perspectivalism, he's actually on the same side as the very BLM activists he so viscerally decries. He's exemplifying the very radical perspectivalism that we see coming from the BLM types of the woke left. There's no basis for dissent. The moral imperative here is so momentous that any dissent is itself compliance with moral evil. That's BLM, and according to Candace, that's Ben Shapiro right now.
I agree.
Yeah,
I get why donors are mad.
Imagine, yeah.
By the way, I support donors giving money to things they agree with.
Yes, I support that.
I strongly do.
Yep.
The part that, and so I had no problem with that at all.
Same.
You don't like it, don't pay for it. Good for you. However, then I thought, well, wait a second. If the biggest donors at, say, Harvard have decided, well, we're going to shut it down now, where were you the last 10 years when they were calling for white genocide? You were allowing this. And then I found myself really hating those people, actually. That you're okay with that? On what grounds were you okay with that?
And this is what I've been trying to explain to the pro-Israel lobby, that what you are seeing as lack of support is people that are asking the question is, where were you as we have endured all of this?
You were paying for it, actually.
Right.
You were paying for it.
You were paying for it.
You were calling my children immoral for their skin color. You paid for that.
And
so why shouldn't I be mad at you? I don't understand.
And so that is, obviously you have a ton of white people that are asking this question, and they're now being called anti-Semitic. And I think that that's wrong. I think these are meaningful questions that deserve to be answered. Why was this sort of verbiage allowed into the curriculum? I mean, could you imagine if in the curriculum it said that every Jewish person born is a terrorist? This is systematically what has been said.
I would be totally opposed to that.
You're learning this, not even just, by the way, at the college campus level, in high schools. I've covered this on my show at high schools, that they are now allowing children to stand up in an auditorium during, not Black Lives Matter week, during, what is February? Whole month of February, African American month. I'm totally Black History Month. I was like totally blanking. I'm like, what is February? Black History Month. They were allowing at this very elite school $50,000 per month to attend this school per year to attend this school for these children to stand up on a stage and yell in an auditorium. Black kids were allowed to be on the stage. White kids were sitting down at this elite school, and they said, "You don't know what we lived through. You don't understand how your whiteness impacts me." This is going on in New York City right now. That is explicit anti-white racism that is happening. And I covered it on my show extensively. Nobody cared. There was no bus calling these kids
No.
anything wrong. And so trying to explain that of why people maybe are not reacting with the amount of vigor that you would like to see is now being interpreted as anti-Semitism.
All right, so Tucker and Candace are taking on the donors, right, of Harvard and Columbia, who are pulling out their money out of these institutions in response to the pro-Hamas activities that they're seeing on those college campuses. And both Tucker and Candace are asking, hey, wait a minute now. Where were you over the last 10 years when these very same students and faculty were saying the very same things, but directed against whites and supposed white suppression, particularly during the BLM fanaticism? Where were you then? Why are you only pulling your money out now? It's this disproportionate response that both Candace and Tucker are calling out. So where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from a dynamic that scholars such as Michel Mafusali refer to as neo-tribalism. It's a trend happening all over the world where more and more populations are realigning around regional, racial, and or religious identity. Now, on the right, this is generally happening with the MAGA movement and the America First rallying cry, this nationalist, civic, nationalist form of tribalism. But on the left, we're seeing a radically racial form of neo-tribalism like BLM or La Raza among Latinos. And Candace and Tucker are pointing out, it's this disproportionate response, this disproportionate moral outrage on the part of Ben Shapiro that suggests that he's unwittingly embracing the very racial, ethnic tribalism that is itself characteristic of the cultural Marxist left. Instead of saying, you see, this is why we need to protect America's borders. This is why. This is precise. No, instead, Ben is insisting, you see, this is why we need to protect Israel's borders. The intensity of Ben's support and fidelity and loyalty to Israel and the Jewish people appears frankly disproportionate to a comparably, frankly, soft support and fidelity for America and the American people. For right or for wrong, that is both Candace's argument and Tucker's argument. It's an argument that I do believe has integrity. And it's one that ought to be deliberated, debated, but certainly not callously dismissed.
Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.